Hello again. Do you hear that? I wish I could say today was a rainy day, but in reality, that noise you're hearing, other than my voice, is not something I'm hearing myself, or not something I've had the pleasure of hearing naturally for, well, since last year, I guess. It hasn't rained in so long, somebody please tell the clouds what's up. Sort of as a manifestation, I guess, of my yearning for a rainy day. I've experimented here. I rendered out a variation of the background you are all likely used to. This one, different camera angle, and you can see rain dropping into the little basin in the center of this room. If I'm being completely honest, the room itself was not created with much thought. All I knew is I needed a centerpiece, and I wanted that hole in the ceiling, which unfortunately is not visible in this background. Still, I think it's fun to change up the visuals like this, even if just slightly. I think when June rolls around, or perhaps July, I will change the background once again. I don't know if I'll change the whole aesthetic of my channel, though I'm... Oh my goodness. My computer just got very loud. I find that smacking the top of the thing fixes a lot of the rattling noise that the computer tends to make, seemingly at random. As I was going to say before I was rudely interrupted, I have a bit of a habit of changing my profiles and aesthetic seasonally to match the season. And I'm not sure if I'll do that here. Well, that's the thing, right? Because I've already sort of done it during the winter when I started doing this. I had the sort of dreary, snowy background. So perhaps I will change the whole thing seasonally. I'm just so happy with the green right now. I'm all in on spring. Something I was thinking about while the background was rendering there are a lot of different, like, cultural methods or practices for both bringing rain and warding off rain. Now, I'm not very educated in a lot of cultures. Even the ones I learned about in school, they've slipped my mind by this point in my life. So to name any specifics is beyond me, but the two examples that come to mind are both for warding off rain. Though one of them, I don't know if it was ever like more than just a children's rhyme. The rain, rain, go away, come again another day. You know, children would chant it whenever it started raining, and their parents would say, "No, you can't play outside. It's raining. You'll get muddy." And the other one I can think of is the Japanese teru bozu. I think that's what it's called. They're these little dolls you make and you hang them outside to ward off the rain. You'll see them in a lot of anime and stuff. There was a game I played called Ghostwire Tokyo that focuses on, like, it takes place in the Shibuya area, or a recreation of it. And your job is to, like, collect spirits, but you also have to fight a number of yokai, one of which being a very large, very angry teru bozu. I forget where I was going with this, because it rains all the time in the game, but you know there's one nearby because the rain will start falling upwards. It is certainly a video game. I wonder what other interesting rain warding off or rain summoning practices there are. I think there's indigenous American rain dances and things such as that. I remember vaguely things like that, like being around when I was a child, but I don't know. See, I had a total, like, miles ahead train of thought that I could have gone with for 20 minutes. But as soon as my PC started making that noise, I got completely thrown off. And now I'm a bit lost. We'll start with this, I guess. We'll continue with this. We're in the middle, maybe. Today was my Friday. I don't have work tomorrow. I don't have work for a few days. Thank God. But it's kind of odd having my Friday in the middle of the week, right? Because generally speaking, most people get the weekend off. generally speaking. I wonder, out of the 50 or so people who listen to this, and or the like 10 or so that listen all the way through, that's a very generous estimate. I know one person listens all the way through. You know who you are. But out of the people who listen, how many don't have their Friday on Friday? How many people when listening to this are going to get sort of confused when I say that today is Friday, when evidently it's Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on what rules you follow. It's not a time zone thing either, it's just my own schedule. I don't know. This isn't a path I can like go down and talk about a whole lot, but that's something. I was thinking about vices recently. Vice. Whenever somebody says vice, it doesn't make me think of like vices as in coping mechanisms or something of that nature. The first thing that always comes to mind for me is a vice grip, though the two are seemingly unrelated. I've never checked if they are, but I don't know what my vices are. I'm sure if I thought really long and hard and pulled up the definition I could tell you. I'm sure I have many. But there is one I have, I think. And that's bad romance anime. I watch such an abundant amount. Like every season, whenever there is one, I check them all. Maybe they don't all take my interest, but there's always at least two. And I've been watching them for as long as I've been watching anime, so it's odd to me. Because I'm the only person I know who's like hyper invested in them. And I think I've said this before. And if I have, call me out, because I think it's silly to repeat myself so much. Whenever I get really sad, or something breaks my heart, or I've just had a really rough week, I don't turn to alcohol or like weed, because that's legal here, or overeating, or like anything like that. I'll curl up in my bed and I won't get out of my bed until I've watched a random 12 episode romance anime. It works every time, because by the end, if it's like actually gripped me, then I'll feel so happy and energized by the conclusion to the thing, assuming that the ending of it is happy and energizing. Generally speaking, they are. And then that's that. I'm on the up and up. It's the little things, I guess, the little things like that. You know what, I do want to Google the definition of a vice right now. Let's look that up. Oh. Okay, so vice seems to specifically describe a negative character trait or a bad habit, like smoking or other drugs or things like that. Google lists hypocrisy as a vice, so perhaps the whole romance anime thing is not a vice so much as it's just a regular coping mechanism. And despite speaking English, and only English, for my entire life, I have failed to understand the definition of this word. It happens. It happens. I'll do better next time. I've made a habit of looking up new words as I find them. And whenever I'm writing and a word springs to mind and I can't precisely place the definition of it in that moment, I will go look it up so I don't make a mistake. But I don't have the ability to look it up in my own head like that, I guess. Like if I don't have the definition, I don't have the definition. So when I'm speaking, I can't just pull out my phone and look it up. I need to finish my sentence. You know, I've just remembered that this whole thing started as a way for me to log my days. And in the last 2 or 3 ones, I haven't really spoken much beyond major incidents. So, what happened today and what happened yesterday? Let me think. I'm actually having trouble remembering yesterday outside of work. Oh, no, I remember. I started the render again. I've had to re-render it like a dozen times because each time I've been unhappy and each time I've been too short on time to fix it properly. And to render it out fully and comb over it for errors. Even with the shortcuts I've taken, it takes forever. Even now, I've just realized something I probably should have fixed. That's troubling. No, we'll just have to send it and then I can fix it for next time. Yeah. Oh, how terribly silly of me. Ooh, there was something I didn't work yesterday. I challenged one of my distant co-workers. I never end up working around them because they work in departments that I do not, and when I'm in the back of the store unloading trucks, they're out on the floor fixing the shelves and whatnot. But I text them sometimes when I find images and whatnot that I think they'd find funny. And one such conversation we had revolved around me thinking they've spotted me from across the store, but their eyesight isn't great, so they're looking in my general direction, but they're not seeing me, right? And a number of times I've managed to walk next to them or behind them without them even noticing. So I challenged them to spot me or sneak up on me without me noticing first. Sort of like a game of hide and seek, but I'm not hiding so much as I'm just hiding in plain sight. And the game started on Saturday, and not even an hour into my Sunday shift, they sent me a message, and I checked my phone, like, what's going on? And they spotted me, said where I was, and I looked around, I could not see them. And they won the game, and I'm mad because I was sure, I was absolutely sure there was no way they were going to be able to do that. It might seem silly, but I was like a little annoyed. I thought perhaps the game would last for like a day more or something like that, and there'd be a few more instances where I spot them as they spot me, failing the win condition, but I don't know. That is genuinely the only thing interesting happening at work. Oh, something else interesting. I received a package, or rather I haven't received a package, I received a slip in the mail from the post office saying that they have my package and I have to pay some import fees on it. It's only like $20. But I have no idea what the package is, and I have, like, the slip doesn't tell me either. So far I've narrowed it down in my brain to 2 possibilities, but I'm not really at the possibility that it's something that has slipped my mind. Possibility 1, it's merch for a band that I really like. Well, not so much a band, it's just like a duo. They're called The Midnight. They make like synth pop or outrun type music, like very, oh, this is like 80s nostalgia type thing. I find their lyricism to often be extremely evocative, maybe, I don't know, and the lead singer has an exceptionally unique and beautiful voice. And sort of in their genre, there is no other band or group that does it quite as well as they do. I have a number of their albums on vinyl. Yeah, I love that band a lot. So it could be merch from them that I ordered not that long ago. Or it could be merch from a different artist. The artist Snail's House, who is famous for a number of like electronic hits. He's very Japanese. He released a set of plushies based off of reoccurring characters from his music videos. And I bought the one I found the most aesthetically appealing. I've loved him as an artist since I was in middle school. But back then I was only into his very, like, off dubstep is what I want to describe it as. I'm sure it has a genre of its own, because it certainly has a sound of its own. But it was very, like, YouTube, like people would use that in their intro or outro type stuff. But he's constantly evolved his music and has sort of split it into two types. He has two types of albums. There's his... I'm pulling up his discography now. Okay, here we go. He also releases a number of albums under his other name, Uchiko. But Snail's House is like his main thing. He's most recognizable and arguably popular, though I haven't checked the numbers, type of music are off of his albums, like Ordinary Songs, of which there's Ordinary Songs 1 through, I think, 5 now. Yeah. His song Hot Milk, which was used in a meme not that long ago, like last year I think, got like really popular on TikTok. I'm now realizing he has on top of that, which is like very organic, sort of cute EDM with lots of like sampled sounds. He has his more electronic pop albums like Pixel Eyes, or that one's fully in Japanese, but I think he's called them Alien Pop before. He has a handful of those EPs, but his music that he's made that I love above all of his other stuff, like way above, are his experimental, I don't even know what to call them, they're like scenic albums. Each of them uses a lot of sampled environment sounds and like natural sounds, and sort of creates, or rather captures, the vibe and feeling of different seasonal scenes through the music. I listen to them seasonally with snow, which is SN and then an accented O, being all winter sounds. There's a track on there called, I think, Waiting for You, Waiting for You. And I love listening to that one whenever the snow is falling hard. Like in a snowstorm, that's the perfect song for me. On sunny, snowy days, his album Lumi, which is another like winter one, definitely captures the vibe. And on those rainy days that I've been praying for so much, I love listening to his Scenery album, which uses a lot of sounds from like Japanese suburbs, as well as like the sound of like train crossings and things like that. I don't know. It's my favourite out of all of them, I think. I just smacked the table, I'm very sorry. It's my favourite out of all of them. My second favourite is probably, I don't know how to pronounce it because it's French. Let me check how to pronounce this. It's just summer in French. How do you pronounce that? L'été. L'été. It just means summer, or the summer. Either way, that one definitely captures that like childhood summer sound and vibe. Its outro song is really, just thinking about it sort of sends a chill down my back. It's very like, I don't know, just if you're someone who likes music for the vibe or feeling it can embed in your brain, listen to his stuff. Yeah, it does a lot for me. One that like halfway falls into multiple categories, and I like to listen to it while it rains as well, is Imaginarium, which is odd and tinny and very discordant, but despite it outright not sounding like music at moments, it's still very beautiful to me, and I love listening to it. Anyway, back to what I was talking about before I started this tangent about how much I love Snail's house. I bought one of his plushies, and I have no idea when it's getting here. And I bought merch from the Midnight, and I have no idea when that's getting here. So tomorrow, I'm going to go out and have maintenance done on the car, and then do some shopping, and then find out what that package is, and if I remember, or if you remind me, I will be able to tell you what it is I got in the mail. There will be no guitar section for this one because I feel like I've been doing that a bit too much. Like the last two have both had it. So we're going to hold off for a little bit on that. Even though I love to, I will run out of songs. Like it's not an if, it's a when. So we'll pace ourselves. Actually, I gotta check if there are any comments on the last video that I didn't properly answer. Yeah, I don't know. I think I answered all that was there. Did anything happen today? I woke up. Well, I went to bed early last night after starting the render, actually. And I set several alarms for earlier than usual, so I could get up and enjoy the sun before work. And then it rolled around to 11 for when I had my alarm set. The alarm went off, I woke up, and my brain told me to go back to bed, so I did. And then my alarm for noon went off, and my brain told me to go back to bed, so I did. And this continued until I had to get up for work. So much for that plan. I really, 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 really need to work on being able to get myself out of bed. I think the first step to that is going to bed earlier, which unfortunately tonight it seems I won't. But hopefully I can fix that over the next few days and actually get to see the sun before I'm trapped inside of the nightmare building that I work in for most of the week. I had a bit of a sad moment. I was stepping out of the house to get in my car to go to work yesterday. I looked up at the sky, and it was a perfectly clear blue. Any clouds were far away and non-threatening. And high up there somewhere, far enough away that I couldn't hear it, was an airplane leaving its trail through the sky. A big commercial, probably Boeing, going somewhere far, far away from here. And it reminded me that if I had played my cards better, or been more wise with my time over the last 2 years, that I could be on a plane like that right now, going somewhere else. Somewhere I could be happy for a few weeks. Well, well, happy for a few, happier, because I am quite happy with the weather around here lately. I just have this, like, ever since I got back from Japan, which again was 2 years ago, that's crazy. I've just had an overwhelming urge to go back. I plan to, like, this time now. I was planning to, but financial issues and then emotional issues and then other issues came up as the winter came in, and it was no longer financially viable for me to think about going anywhere. So maybe I'm just mourning a trip that never happened, or I don't know. I sort of had this, I've had this issue with things lately, where anything that is good and happy and fun doesn't quite feel real. I'm not sure how to describe what I mean by doesn't feel real, but as I think upon my trip 2 years ago and my trip during the fall, that one was only 2 days, and wasn't that far away, but my trip during the fall regardless, and my trip this time last year, road trip, none of it felt real. And in retrospect, it definitely doesn't feel real. Like, maybe I'm just tired, and that's affecting my brain's ability to remember things, but it's like there's crucial parts of each memory, like a sense, like one of the 5 senses is missing from each of them, maybe. I don't know. It's possible that it's a consequence of my terrible, terrible sleep schedule, because every time I've gone on a trip like that, I haven't adjusted beforehand, and when I get there, I'm usually not consuming as much coffee or energy drinks as I usually would, so I would be tired the entire time. And you know what, that's probably what it was. maybe it's like withdrawal from my caffeine intake, or withdrawal from a lack of caffeine intake, like dulling my senses whenever these things seem to happen. I would consider, having now learned the proper definition of a vice, I would consider caffeine a vice. I wish I didn't need it, but my father was a coffee drinking man, and it just seemed like the thing to do. Like, oh, you're grown up now, drink coffee. So I started as a youngin', and by high school, it felt like I needed it with the little sleep I was getting because I'd stay up all night watching anime. And it helped then. And now, out of high school, working jobs, it's just a necessity to not feel like a limp noodle. I would probably save like $100 a month if I wasn't drinking coffee. I could probably math that out, but that would make me incredibly sad. I do love the taste of coffee though. I don't drink it for the caffeine sometimes. Sometimes I have to stop myself from drinking one, even when I know I want one, because I know there's caffeine in it. But like, it feels wrong when like the taste is not there. I love coffee. Now I'm like daydreaming. Well, it's night. I'm like dreaming of the coffee I'm gonna get tomorrow. These last few days I've had to get iced coffees, which are full of ice and quite watered down compared to like the classic double from Tim Hortons. So I haven't had a full coffee in a few days because of that. And my mouth is sort of watering at the idea of actually getting a full one. Maybe that's incredibly weird, but you know, it's an addiction. I can stop anytime I want. If I had my coffee today, or when I got off work, I would be able to run my mouth 1,000,000 words per minute, like right now. Something I've been sort of fretting about, like recently, related to this, is when I do finish up that final project that I've continued working on, how do I present it to here? Because I can guarantee you the vibe from this to that, the vibe and aesthetic will not match at all. Like, if you like this for what it is and like my silly little guitar playing, I cannot give you any comparison or transfer between this and that. They are so very different. That being said, I'm not going to close the door on sharing it because I said I would, right? And I don't like going back on things. Sometimes you have to. You can't never go back on things, right? But generally don't. It makes you seem, well, I say you when I'm talking about myself here. Oh, that sounds so accusatory. What I mean to say is, don't go back on your word when you give it. Just be more careful about when you give it. Okay, one final tangent because it's just popped back into my head. There is one game that I'd say is one of my favourite games ever that came out in 2023, and it's Armored Core 6. I love big robots and mecha battles and sci-fi, and to me it's the perfect game for all of that. And I have had nobody to talk about it with, because everybody I know that would enjoy it refuses to buy it at full price. And that's just it, really. Like, it came out around the same time as Baldur's Gate 3, I think. I might be wrong on that. So everybody I knew was playing Baldur's Gate 3 while I was playing Armored Core. So I had nobody to talk to about it. And I have so many friends who would play it and would talk about it with me, but they just... they won't buy it. Why? Next Steam sale, I'm going to look like Santa Claus, because I'm going to buy it for several people. I need people to talk about it with. Another reason I started thinking about that game is because there's a character in that game whose voice I think I can say is my favorite, like, standard, like, like American accent, I think. I don't know. It's a voice that really really gets to my brain, I guess. Like, it's just the perfect voice going into my ears. It's hard to describe how it makes me feel, right? Like, I just want it to talk to me forever. And there have been other voices like that, but not from a video game. Right? The character in question is all mind, but only on the third run of the game. So the game has 3 endings, I think. Pretty sure it's 3. And when you're doing the third ending, the sort of, like, you have to play the game, beat it to get the first 2 endings, and then you have the ability to play through and get the third ending. And in this mysterious third ending, a lot of the missions in the game will, like, change halfway through, or new missions will show up in place of ones that were there before, and the game will subtly change in a bunch of ways. And through that you get to talk to, or I guess be talked at, because your character never speaks. You get talked at by All Mind a number of times in sort of a less in a completely different way to the way the character speaks in the first 2 rounds of the game. You'd sort of have to play the game to fully understand what I'm getting at. There is another character in the game with the same voice called Kate Markson. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, see if you can find any voice clips of that character, and that should give you an idea of what I'm talking about. I've never taken time to study what it is about that voice that gets to my brain, but it does. That's all I know. It's not the first voice to do that, probably won't be the last, but it's one that I can sort of place down forever in the vault, because it's tied to something I love so much for many, many, many other reasons. Anyway, the sun is up, sort of. The weather's a little turbulent outside, so I think I'm going to end this one here. Thank you so much for listening, if you still are. If you're falling asleep, have a good rest. If you're just waking up, good morning. And if you're already asleep, I'm sorry. I myself am going to render this out and then go to bed. Big day tomorrow. Yeah. Good night.